thank you for watching this support video. My name is Sherry Betcher, the Assessment Manager for the Center for Charter Schools at Central Michigan University. Our team created this short video to help our partner schools strategically establish exceptional assessment environments that will benefit students, families, school staff, and board members. Our focus is on the MAP growth assessment, but many of the tips and strategies we cover today can and should be applied to any assessment that you administer. The goal of this video is to help with a wide range of assessment challenges, whether you're struggling to get students engaged with the assessment, or maybe you've spent years improving your assessment environment and are just looking for those final touches to make your assessment environment exceptional. You'll find help in this video. When you're looking for ways to create an exceptional assessment environment, the best way to start is with the why. That is, why do we give this assessment? I begin here because this is an area that is often overlooked, and it can be the cause of many assessment challenges plaguing schools each year. The main ideas I'm going to share in this first section on the topic of why are based on Simon Sinek's book and TED Talk, Start With Why: How Great Leaders Inspire Everyone to Take Action. This work has improved organizations around the world, and if you apply just some of Mr. Sinek's work, I'm confident it'll be a catalyst for improvements. We also developed a short video that's housed on our assessment webpage called Your Why is Your Compass, What Direction is Yours Pointing, that I recommend you watch. Please use any of these 3 resources for additional help, as I'm only going to scratch the surface of this critical topic. Sinek explains your why as your higher purpose. It's that cause or belief that inspires you to do what you do. I think it's helpful to think of the why as a compass because it points us in a very specific direction. One's why is always operating behind the scenes, and it directs what work we do and how we do that work, often without us even realizing how impactful our why is. When I was an assessment coordinator at a school, I spent a tremendous amount of time on the what and the how of assessment administration. And my experience at the Center for Charter Schools has assured me I am not alone. A lot of time is spent carefully planning and creating test schedules that consider the order that kids are tested, the times of day they'll be most focused, when they eat, what their specials are, the temperature of the computer lab, when teachers have preps, and a million other details go into creating that perfect test schedule. And you plan the how of technology, makeup testing, activities for students to do once they complete testing. The to-do list involving the how and the what is practically endless. Don't get me wrong, this is all great work, and I'm going to go into depth with some of best practices for the how and the what next. However, I think it's important to acknowledge the amount of time one spends on the how and what. And now, I need to ask you a question, and I want you to think about it honestly. How much time do you devote to advancing your why, your higher purpose for assessment? Because remember, your why is a compass. It directs you. It points you in a specific direction. It exists whether you realize it or not. And it exists whether you devote time to it or not. Some very toxic things can happen at our schools if building leaders don't pay attention to, honor, or even acknowledge the why. For example, if you have difficulty getting staff and students to buy into testing, and there is a clear apathy or resistance, that's a clear indication that you might have a toxic why directing your assessment culture. When staff, students, parents, board members, and any other stakeholder asks, why do we give this test? And they give you lots of different answers that are not aligned to helping students, you can be certain you have a toxic why in play. If you hear responses from students like, I don't know, or because it's how the teachers are graded, or if you have staff saying, because we are required to, your compass isn't pointing in the right direction. And if you do have a toxic why directing your assessment culture, you have a great deal of change management to deal with. So your first task is to dig deeper into your assessment why. For more help with uncovering or correcting your why, I encourage you to use any of the 3 resources I shared here for additional help with this critical topic. Once you've done the work to establish a solid why that is in fact tied to helping students, the answer to why do we give the assessment might sound something like this: because we believe in changing the trajectory of students' lives. How map data helps us change the trajectory is by helping us understand what standards our students have mastered and what they are ready to learn next, so we can make sure our instruction has the greatest impact. So what we do is administer MAP to all students and train teachers to utilize the data to design high-quality instruction. So now you're ready to move on to the what and the how. That is, you're ready to learn vital assessment administration tips and best practices that establish an exceptional assessment culture that will produce positive outcomes. To get started, I'm going to spend some time talking through tips, best practices, and our requirements that help create an environment where students can deliver their best effort on the MAP assessment. We've created a holistic document that captures everything in one place for you. The MAP Assessment Requirements and Best Practices document. This document is key. It's a one-stop shop covering most of the areas that will help create a positive assessment culture. I'm going to briefly summarize some of the main points, and then I recommend that you read the document in its entirety at the conclusion of this video. Let's start with best practices to prepare your students for the assessment. Because of the computer-adapted delivery platform of the MAP growth assessments, it's important that students have a correct understanding of the assessment itself. Students need to know that some questions will be easy and others will be more difficult, and that it's expected not to know all of the answers, since they'll see questions on topics they haven't even learned yet. So their wrong answers actually help us know what they're ready to learn next. Also, students need to understand what to expect before, during, and after the assessments to empower them for optimal performance. The Center for Charter Schools provides the Teacher Planning Form, or Form A8, to assist teachers in preparing their students for the MAP assessment. We encourage each teacher to use this form, kind of like a checklist, to make sure each student is prepared consistently by every teacher in the building. For example, this form helps remind students why they are taking the test. The why should explain to students that the results from this test are used to plan their work and review their progress. Make sure students are aware of the test schedule at least one day in advance. Encourage students to give their best effort and to always think through each response carefully. Once an answer is submitted, it cannot be changed. Inform students that this is not a time test. Everyone has to work hard on this test, and taking longer doesn't mean they are doing better or worse. Teach students about NWEA's rapid guessing feature, which helps limit students from rapidly clicking through the assessment by pausing the test. Carefully consider the optimal test environment for each student. Some students' test results are most authentic when tested in short blocks of 20 to 30 minutes of time due to attention span time limits, health considerations, IEP requirements, etc. Explain to students what they are expected to do once their test is complete. Ideally, they should bring a book to read silently once they finish. For older students, consider having them write an assessment reflection to capture their thoughts on their learning and growth. Let students know when you will discuss their results, set goals, and establish learning targets based on what the test results show they need. You will also want to utilize the resources that NWEA created to help prepare students for the assessment, which are found on NWEA's Students Resources page. Here you'll find brief, grade-appropriate videos, practice tests, and an opportunity for students in second grade and above to practice using the tools they'll encounter on the assessment. Also, NWEA's text-to-speech feature is mentioned a few times in the student preparation tools So you want to make sure that you have a policy in place and have shared the expectations with students prior to using these resources. Please review the assessment support section on our MAP assessments and best practices document for the center's policy on text-to-speech. In addition to carefully preparing students, there are several actions that staff need to complete to establish an exceptional assessment environment. Let's dig deeper into the center's guidance and requirements to create optimal testing environments. The center provides the proctor verification form, Form A7, to assist with the assessment administration process, similar to the teacher planning form. We encourage each proctor to use this form like a checklist to make sure each assessment is administered consistently. First and foremost, every staff member needs to be properly trained to speak knowledgeably with students about the assessment, as well as ethically administer the assessment. NWA provides excellent role-based tutorial videos and help guides for proctors, teachers, and administrators on their website. Make sure your staff is set up for success by completing the training they need prior to each test window. Consider using NWA's Students' Direction Script to begin each test session to ensure that all students receive complete and accurate instructions. If you do not use NWEA's script, consider creating your own script for test proctors. Remind students why they are taking the assessment. Make sure to reiterate what teachers have already shared with students to make sure students understand how the test results will be used. Encourage students to put forth their very best effort. Remind them that their answers cannot be changed, that the test is not timed, the rapid guessing feature will pause their test if they answer too quickly, and that taking testing longer doesn't mean that they're doing better or worse than other students. Ensure the required proctor-to-student ratio is met, 1 adult for every 15 students. This helps ensure students receive the attention and support they need during this important assessment. Ensure students remain in the room at all times and carefully monitor students while they are testing. Remember, students take their cues from you. Proctors that are completely focused on the students while they are testing demonstrates to students the importance of the assessment. Ensure students are not given help from proctors or teachers on test content. And last but not least, ensure students do not engage with the internet or one another at the conclusion of the assessment. Instead, each student should bring a book to read to maintain a silent test environment. The preparation and planning for assessment administration is an important process that assures authentic data is obtained for instructional and student growth purposes. If you have any questions or would like additional support, please feel free to contact me directly by email or phone. Our team is always happy to help our valued partners.